I used to think vacations were the best way to reset your life. After what happened last summer, I'm not so sure anymore. Me, my girlfriend Emily, and our friend Zach rented a cabin near a lake in Washington for a week. It wasn't fancy, just a small A-frame with a deck and fire pit. But it was peaceful. No cell service, just stars, trees, and the sound of the water. We brought board games, a cooler full of drinks, and told ourselves we'd actually relax. The first few days were perfect. We swam, hiked, grilled food, stayed up late. On the third day, while walking along the trail near the water, we ran into another group around our age. 3 people, Noah, Brooke, and some guy named Jay. They were friendly, said they were staying in a cabin just a few hundred feet away. We made small talk. They invited us to come over later for a drink. Zach was all for it. Emily was unsure, but we eventually said yes. That night, we walked over to their cabin around 9. It looked similar to ours, but slightly bigger. They had music playing low, some string lights set up outside. At first, it was a chill vibe. Beer, snacks, cards. Noah was funny, Brooke seemed nice, and Jay was mostly quiet, just sitting and watching. After about an hour, I noticed something off. Every time I'd put my drink down and come back, it tasted different. I chalked it up to switching brands. Then Brooke asked a weird question. If you had to disappear forever, like off the grid, how would you do it? She laughed afterward, but it didn't feel like a joke. Later, while we were all sitting around the fire pit, Jay leaned over and asked Emily, "So, you're a deep sleeper, right?" She froze. "Why would you ask that?" He just smiled. "Just curious." We didn't stay much longer after that. The next morning, we found a shoelace tied around our cabin doorknob, tight, like a handle loop. None of us had left it there. That was the first red flag. That night, we locked all the windows. Zach slept on the couch with a knife from the kitchen, just in case. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of gravel crunching outside. It wasn't loud, but it was slow, like footsteps circling the cabin. I nudged Emily. She heard it too. Zach whispered from the living room, "Someone's outside." We sat in the dark for almost 20 minutes, waiting. No car pulled up, no knock. Just soft crunching and then silence. The next morning, we walked to the other cabin to confront them, but it was empty. Empty, as in no beds, no clothes, no food, like nobody had ever been staying there. The weird part? The trash bin outside was full of beer cans, the same brand we'd been drinking the night before. We left early. That night, back at home, I got a message on Instagram from a blank account. No profile picture, no followers, just one photo. It was of me, asleep in the cabin bed, taken from inside the room. We filed a police report. Nothing ever came of it. All I know is that they weren't just other vacationers, and they weren't trying to be our friends. Sometimes I still check my door at night, just to make sure there's no shoelace tied around the knob. I don't scare easily, but I won't ever book a cabin without checking every detail again. This happened last fall, when my cousin Josh and I took a weekend trip to a small campground in Oregon. The place had about a dozen rental cabins. Nothing fancy, just wood-paneled one-room setups with bunk beds and a picnic table outside. It was off-season, so it was mostly empty. We checked in Friday afternoon, unpacked our gear in cabin 4 and walked the grounds. That's when we passed cabin 6 and saw a group of 4 already settled in. 2 guys, 2 girls, maybe mid-20s like us. They were tossing a football and blasting music from a Bluetooth speaker. They waved us over, offered us a beer. They seemed cool, friendly. One of the girls, Tessa, even offered to show us a shortcut to the creek trail. We hung out by the water for a while, talking and skipping rocks. They asked a lot of personal questions, what we did for work, if anyone else knew we were there, if we brought a car or used rideshare. It felt like normal conversation at the time. Later that night, Josh said he had a weird feeling about them. They asked how long we were staying, twice. I brushed it off. I figured he was just being paranoid. But then, just after midnight, someone knocked on our cabin door. 3 slow knocks. Josh and I looked at each other. We hadn't told anyone which cabin we were in. I stepped toward the door and quietly looked through the peephole. No one. 10 minutes later, the same knock. I opened the door this time, fast, still no one. We decided to keep a knife near the bed, just in case. The next morning, our cooler was gone, and there were muddy footprints right outside the door, like someone had stood there for a long time. We went to report it to the camp office, but the staff weren't there yet. So we walked over to cabin 6. It was completely empty. No people, no bags, no food, no sign anyone had even stayed there. That night, we packed up to leave early. But before we drove off, I remembered something. There was no cabin 6 on the camp map. I checked again when we got home. Still no listing. Just 12 cabins, and number 6 isn't one of them. I don't know who those people were, or how they knew where we were staying. But they weren't campers. They were planning something. This happened during a spring break trip my junior year. We thought it would just be a chill week at the beach. We were wrong. Me and 3 friends, Nate, Bree, and Courtney, booked a cheap Airbnb near a stretch of beach in Northern California. It wasn't exactly party central, but that's what we wanted. Bonfires, beer, ocean air. On our second night, we went down to the sand around sunset and found a group already there. 5 or 6 people, late 20s maybe. They had music playing, a small bonfire going, and offered us drinks. At first, it felt like a lucky break. New people, good vibes, nothing weird. One guy, Dylan, started talking to Bree. He was tall, super chill, asked where we were staying. Bree lied and said it was a motel a few blocks away. I noticed Courtney didn't talk much, just kept glancing at one of the women in the group who was staring without blinking. After about an hour, Nate leaned in and said, "We should bounce. These people feel off." We thanked them and headed back toward the road. One of the guys, Dylan, called after us, "We'll stop by later." We never gave them the address. That night, around 1 a.m., we heard footsteps outside the Airbnb. Slow, sand crunching under boots. Then, a knock, just once. We peeked out the blinds, no one on the porch, but Nate swore he saw a figure step out of view. We killed the lights, sat there in silence for nearly an hour. Next morning, Courtney showed us her phone. At 2:14 a.m., she got a text from an unknown number. Liked the place. Can't wait to see inside. She never gave anyone her number. We left that day, cutting the trip short. On the way out, I checked the beach. No sign of a fire, no group, not even ashes in the sand. We told ourselves it was nothing. But 2 weeks later, Bree found a photo posted anonymously online. It was of the 4 of us at the bonfire, taken from behind, from the dunes. We still don't know who took it, or how they got Courtney's number. But they weren't just looking to hang out, they were planning something worse. I fought in cages, stared down killers. But what happened that weekend made me feel helpless, and I hate that feeling. This was 2 years ago. I'd just wrapped up a brutal training camp and needed to get out of the city. A buddy of mine, Dom, had a cabin near the Idaho border and said I could use it for a few days. Just me, the woods, and time to clear my head. I drove up on a Friday. The cabin was small but decent. 1 room, generator powered, middle of nowhere. Nearest town was 20 minutes away, no signal. That first night was quiet. I made dinner, did some light shadow boxing on the porch and crashed early. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to what sounded like twigs snapping outside. I sat up, listened. Nothing. I told myself it was just wildlife, bears, raccoons, whatever. Next day, I went for a run down the gravel path leading away from the cabin. About a mile in, I saw fresh footprints in the mud. Not boot prints, bare feet, wide, long stride. They weren't mine. I turned around and jogged back. That night, I double-checked the locks, took a kitchen knife and my flashlight into bed, just in case. Around 1:30 a.m., I heard it again, crunching steps in the gravel, closer this time. Then came a slow, deliberate knock. 1, 2, 3. I grabbed the knife, crept to the window, and peeked through a slit in the curtain. Nothing. Another knock. I yanked the door open fast, ready to handle whatever was out there. Nobody. But there were fresh, wet footprints on the wood deck. Bare feet, standing right in front of the door. I didn't sleep after that. Next morning, I walked the perimeter. That's when I found the tree. About 20 feet from the cabin, someone had carved into the bark with something sharp. Not strong enough. I left. I didn't pack. I didn't wait. I ran to my truck, started it without warming up, and sped out of there like a coward. Later, Dom told me no one had keys to that place except him, and he hadn't been there in months. He asked if I wanted to go back together, said maybe it was a squatter or some sick joke. I said no. Not because I was scared of a fight, but because whoever it was, they picked me. And they knew I was supposed to be the strong one. This happened in Arizona, right after I graduated. My buddy Colin and I did a road trip. Just 2 guys, backpacks, and national parks. About halfway through, we stopped at a cheap desert motel outside Flagstaff. One of those old-school spots with faded signs, buzzing lights, and doors that open straight to the parking lot. But it was clean, cheap, and had AC. We were just staying one night. After we checked in, we walked across the road to a gas station to grab snacks. That's where we met him. Some guy hanging around near the vending machines. Early 30s, maybe. Tan, lean, kind of jittery. Said his name was Ray. He cracked a joke about the heat and we laughed. He asked if we were staying at the motel. I didn't answer, but Colin, being Colin, said, "Yeah, just for tonight." Ray smiled. "Cool, I'm in room 8, maybe we'll hang later." We nodded, grabbed our stuff, and walked back. Later that night, around 10, we were watching TV when someone knocked. I opened the door, and it was Ray. "Got any beers?" he asked. Figured I'd stop by. Colin hesitated, but I told him we were winding down. Ray just stood there smiling, then said, "You sure?" I nodded. "Yeah, early morning." He stared for a second too long, then walked off. We locked the door. At 2:17 a.m., there was another knock. Louder this time, then silence. I didn't open it, just looked through the peephole. No one there. The next morning, we went to the front desk to check out early. I asked the manager if Ray in room 8 had left already. The guy frowned. "We don't have a room 8, only 7 rooms here." I didn't answer, just grabbed our stuff and left. As we pulled out of the parking lot, Colin pointed to the payphone near the gas station. The receiver was off the hook, dangling, and a note was taped to the side. It said, "Let's hang out next time. I know what car you drive." We've never been back to Arizona, and I still check my rearview mirror more than I should. I've always been the kind of person who doesn't mind doing things alone. Movies, road trips, even hiking. So last year, I planned a solo getaway to the Olympic Peninsula in Washington. Just me, my car, and a few nights camping off-grid. I wanted quiet. On my second day, I hiked a less traveled trail that looped around a lake. About halfway through, I came across a group, 5 people, maybe late 20s to mid-30s, huddled around a fire pit near a makeshift camp area. They looked like the REI catalog threw up. Flannel shirts, boots, perfect tents. One of them, a guy with a beard and a fishing hat, waved me over. "You hiking alone?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. They introduced themselves casually. Cam, Logan, Jess, Sierra, and Nate. Said they were from Portland and came out here every spring. Offered me a seat, a drink, even some jerky. They seemed cool, friendly, so I stayed for a bit. After maybe 45 minutes, I stood up to leave. Cam said, "You should stay here tonight. No point hiking back this late." It was barely 5 p.m. I laughed and said I'd think about it, then headed back toward the trail. About 10 minutes later, I realized I didn't recognize anything. I'd taken that same path and now it felt wrong. I backtracked, still nothing familiar. Then I saw it. On a tree trunk, a piece of red fabric tied in a knot. I hadn't seen it earlier. I turned around, and Nate was standing on the trail behind me. He smiled. "Thought you might get lost." I said I was fine and kept walking. He followed me, too close behind. "I think it's cool you're alone," he said. "Means no one's waiting." I didn't respond. After 5 more minutes, I finally found the fork in the trail where I'd gone wrong. Nate didn't follow me past it, just stood there, watching. That night, I camped with my knife under my pillow. At 3:12 a.m., I woke up to twigs snapping. Then, laughter. Soft, from different directions. When I unzipped my tent, no one was there, but there were 5 boot prints circling the tent. In the morning, I packed up and hiked out without eating. The trailhead was empty, but my car door was unlocked, and someone had taken a photo on my phone. Just one. Me, sitting by their fire the day before. Only this time, I wasn't the only one looking at the camera.